So welcome to today's class. Today we are going to see a few more things about Fourier transform. And before we start the new discussion, let us just have a recap of the last class. So mainly we discussed two things in the last class. One was discrete Fourier transform in 1D, and another was discrete Fourier transform in 2D. So for 1D we discussed these formulae. This was for the forward transform and this was for the inverse transform. Okay. In case of 2D, we discussed two notations. One was when the image was of size n cross m, and then another was when the image was of size n cross n. So when the image is of size n cross m, in the forward transform, forward DFT, we said that FUV will be equal to this expression where the coefficient, that you see at the beginning, it will be 1 by nm, and there was nothing in case of inverse DFT. But when the image was of size n cross n, there we distributed this coefficient and made the coefficient 1 by n in both forward and inverse case, right? So this was just done to, in this case also we can make the coefficient as 1 by n square in the forward case and nothing in the case of inverse transform. But if we are distributing this 1 by n square equally as 1 by n and 1 by n in both the cases, then it makes easier for us to remember the formula. That is why we are doing this. And as we discussed in the last class, it doesn't matter whether you keep 1 by n square here or you distribute it like 1 by n and 1 by n here for both the cases. Okay. There was another important thing that we discussed, and it was that Fourier transform, if you plot it, it is symmetrical. And what we are actually, when we are saying Fourier transform here, we basically mean magnitude spectrum of the Fourier transform. Please remember, because when you plot the Fourier transform, you can either plot its magnitude or you can plot its phase. Okay. So here in this particular point, when we are saying that the Fourier spectrum or the Fourier transform of an image is symmetrical, it is basically set for magnitude spectrum. Okay. So in this magnitude spectrum, if we see that, then every point with respect to the center of the image, every point is find it's mirrored, right? So whatever, if you just put a line which is passing from the center, so either side of the that line, you will find that similar kind of points are present. Okay. And the same thing happens for the phase as well. For the phase spectrum also you will find this kind of property, but there you will find that there will be 180 degree shift with respect to, if you divide your image into two halves and then see, then you will find that there will be a 180 degree shift, right? So here it will be exactly symmetric in the case of magnitude spectrum, but in case of phase spectrum you will find a shift of 180 degree. Okay. Yeah. Now let us understand this with the help of an example. And in our discussion, though Fourier transform can be defined for any 2D function, but since in our case our intention is to discuss the images, so all the examples that we will see here, they will be based on the images. Okay. So let us understand the 2D DFT with the help of this example. So here on the left side you see an image is given, and our objective is to find out its Fourier transform. So what you see on the right side is actually its Fourier transform. Now whenever you are analyzing the Fourier transform, you have to find out whether this is a phase spectrum or the magnitude spectrum, because when you are plotting Fourier transform, you can't plot that complex function. So that is why either you have to take the magnitude of the Fourier transform, or you have to take the phase part of the Fourier transform. So normally we plot magnitude spectrum. So if nothing is said, you can assume that that spectrum is magnitude spectrum. If specifically it is said that it is a phase spectrum, then you should consider that as phase. Otherwise, normally we plot the magnitude spectrum. So here, as this caption says, that is a Fourier transform. So Fourier transform, since you are plotting, this means it either it is magnitude spectrum or it is a phase spectrum. So here nothing is said, you can assume that this is magnitude spectrum. Okay. Now whenever you are analyzing the magnitude spectrum, as we just discussed, that magnitude spectrum is a symmetrical function, you can see. So here you see that there are 2 points, one white point here this side, another white point here this side. So if you put a line like this here, you will find that I'm just little tilting this line here so that this white point is visible. So if you put a line like this here, you find that actually this Fourier transform is symmetric with respect to this line, because whatever point you see here with respect to this line, you see another point here, right? So in this spectrum, what is important? Only what you have on one side of the image is only important. Second side is not important just because it is just the replica. Later we will see that when you are trying to get the let us say from this Fourier transform you want to get back to your original image. In that case both the parts will be important, but for our discussion here we are only going to consider half of it, because whatever we are discussing for half of this spectrum, that is going to be true for the remaining half, because they are both symmetric. Alright. So now what we learn from this Fourier spectrum, you know that Fourier spectrum tells you about the frequencies. So in this case your data is in the form of pixels, or it is defined in terms of spatial coordinates, but here you are talking everything in terms of frequency. That means whatever you see here, that is telling you that information telling you in some sense the information of the frequency, right? So in every Fourier spectrum, at the middle, at the center, you will find always there will be a bright spot. That bright spot is going to represent the value. Let's say if this is Fourier spectrum f, then that is going to represent f00, and f00 is nothing but the average of all the intensities that you have in your image, right? So this will be always a bright pixel here. I mean, assuming that your image is it's not completely black. I mean, if it is completely black, then obviously the average is also going to be very low, but assuming that this is like a mixed kind of image, you will always find that there will be a bright point at the center representing f00. And in this image we are saying that this particular point is 00, and as we move towards left or right or up or down, the frequency increases. Okay. So if when you are moving from this side to this side, frequency increases, or when you are moving from this side to this side, up side, the frequency is increasing. Okay. So now when you analyze this spectrum, you see that apart from this center bright point, there is one bright point here, this one, right? There is no other bright point in the whole image. So when you have, and wherever you have a bright point in this image, that tells you about the frequency. So if you have a bright point at this point here, you can say that this Fourier spectrum is representing the given signal in terms of this frequency. Okay. How many frequencies it is using to represent this signal? Since there is only one bright spot here, you can say that this left side image is represented with the help of just one frequency in the Fourier spectrum. Okay. I hope this is clear. And we are not discussing anything about this because this is nothing but the same thing, same value mirrored here. Okay. So now it is very easy to visualize from this image that why we are getting only one frequency, because if you see, and first why we are getting the frequency is only in the horizontal direction. I mean, like why we are getting only in this line, because if you see your image, your pattern is only in this direction. There is no pattern if you go from here to here, right? If you go vertically up, there is no pattern, right? So if there is no pattern, then there is no frequency, because you don't need there is no change. But the major change that you see is in this direction, and this change or this pattern that you see here is coming from these black and white strips. So if you just plot those white and black strips, you can say that the pattern is coming something like this. Like you have first white, and then this becomes black, and then again white, and become again black, and so on. This kind of pattern is repeating. So here you have only one type of pattern here. So for representing one pattern that you have here, and which is approximately, let's say, represented using this formula, this waveform, then to represent this pattern you just need only one frequency, right? One major frequency we'll see. So because of that, since there is only one pattern in the Fourier transform, you only see one frequency. Okay. And what is this frequency? This is the frequency that you are getting from this waveform. And we can discuss like what is the value of the frequency that you are going to get here, why this point is coming at the center here, why this point is not, let's say, more towards the edge here, this side, or not more towards this side, why you are getting a point here. So let us discuss all these points here one by one. So as I just explained, I mean, this slide is again telling the same thing that we just discussed. So central value that you see in the image, that is the DC value, which is nothing but the average of all the intensities that you have in your image. And your Fourier spectrum is symmetrical with respect to center. So if you put a line passing through origin, on each side of the line, you will find that the same kind of points are there. Okay, and this change that you see in the Fourier transform in the previous slide, only in the horizontal line, and the reason is that because the pattern is also existing only in the horizontal direction. Okay, and now let us try to find out from that signal what is its frequency. So as you know, there I just plotted that signal is going to be that waveform that you are going to get from the image is going to be something like this, and then this pattern only repeats. So if you have to find out what is the frequency, you have to find out how many times this pattern is repeating in a second, right, or in unit time. So to find out that, you can find out the time period of the signal, and then you can take the inverse of that, and that gives you the frequency. So in this case, you find that time period will be defined from the time that you take to reach from here to here, and this you find that this is equal to total 4 pixels in this case, because we say that these two strips that we are considering, they are 2 pixel wide. If you see this example here, we are saying that these strips are 2 pixel wide. Okay, so that is why you can assume that to reach from here to here, how many unit time you have to travel. I mean, and this domain is, I mean, we are saying that time domain, or in our case we are calling this a spatial domain. So if you assume that this is your time domain, so you can say that to cover 2 pixels you need, let's say, 2 unit time, right. In our case we are just calling it a spatial domain, but for understanding this these terms like frequency and time period, I think let us assume that this direction is telling you the this domain where you are representing your image is the time domain, right? And the same time domain becomes a spatial domain in the case of images. So when you consider that this axis is the time axis, to reach from here to here, if you are crossing 2 pixels, you can say that 2 unit time is required. Similarly, when you are coming from here to here, again another 2 unit time. So total how much time? Total 4 pixels. So you can say t equal to 4. So if you take the inverse of the time period, you get the frequency. So you get frequency as 1 by 4. Okay. And yesterday also we discussed this, that let us assume that these patterns, I mean, you do some variation on this pattern and then try to find out what are the outcomes you will get on the Fourier spectrum. So whatever you do here, the outcomes are going to come here in terms of frequencies. So let us try to analyze here what is the maximum value of frequency you can get from this kind of pattern, and what is the minimum frequency you can get from this pattern. So when you are going to get maximum frequency, or when you are going to get minimum frequency, I think to understand that, let us first discuss what will happen if you increase the width of the strips. So to change this pattern, or to change this waveform, the only change that we can do is to either like increase the widths of these loops that you have, or decrease their width. Right? These are the two possibilities. So when you are increasing the width of these strips, you will find that t will increase. Okay. When you are increasing, let's say you are making a pattern, here it was 2 pixel wide, but now let's say you make 3 pixel wide or 4 pixel wide. So as you increase the value of number of pixels, let's say, which are going to fall in these these black and white strips, based on that you will find that this denominator will increase here. So when denominator is increasing, the frequency will decrease. So if your strip is 4 pixel, let's say 2 pixel wide, then the frequency is going to come 1 by 4, but if it is going to be, let's say, 3 pixel wide, then frequency will come 1 by 6. If it is 4 pixel wide, then the frequency will come 1 by 8, right. So I am saying 1 by 8 because 4 will come from here and 4 will come from here. So 1 by 8, so and so on. So you see that when you are increasing the width of these strips, the frequency is decreasing. So you can consider the reverse. What will happen if you decrease their width? So obviously when you are going to decrease the width of these strips, the frequency is going to increase. So now to find out the limiting cases, you have to find out, or let's say talk about only the maximum frequency. To find out the maximum frequency, you have to see what is the minimum value of denominator you can have, right. So if you just analyze, we will find out that this denominator cannot be less than 2 pixels, because these number of pixels are coming from the pixels that you have for white, black pattern. So these patterns, to have a pattern in this image, at least these patterns should be 1 pixel wide, right. So when you assume that limiting that extreme case where your pixels are just 1 pixel wide, you will find that the frequency will be 1 by 2 pixel, and that will be the maximum, because you can't go beyond that. And similarly, you can, other side you can see, if you keep increasing, then obviously the frequency will become 0 in some sense, you can say. If your patterns are really very wide, then frequency will become 0. Okay. So this is the maximum you get, and if you compare the frequency that we get in our case, this f for the pattern that we have here, this f is nothing but half of what you have here. This is 1 by 2 pixel, and here you have 1 by 4 pixels. So this is nothing but half of what you have here. So if you see in the diagram, extreme point here is going to tell you the f max, and since your f is half of this, so that is why you see that this point is almost at the midway, if you just, let's say, travel from here to here. So this is at least at the middle here, okay. And that the reason is just this, because this frequency is half of the maximum possible frequency, okay. Now another important thing that we need to note down here is that in this case we have assumed that our pattern is like a very ideal sinusoid kind of thing, okay. But actually if you see these strips, they are, as I said, they are 2 pixel wide white and black strips. So they are more like a square wave rather than being the sine wave, okay. So when you are going to represent, when you are going to compute the Fourier transform of this, you will find that you will have a major frequency which is coming from this f that we just discussed, but there might be some very small frequencies also existing with these frequencies, because this is not a ideal sine curve. If it is an ideal sine curve, you will have just one frequency, right, because for an ideal sine curve to represent it, you just need one frequency. But this pattern that you are going to get here is not going to be exactly like this. It is going to be something like this. You have a white like this, and then black like this, something like this, right. It is a pattern like this. So to represent this pattern in Fourier transform, you will see that there are small frequencies also present in this spectrum, but they are so small that they are not visible, and you can say they are in some sense insignificant also, okay. So what is important is only this frequency, but you should remember that since this is not an ideal sine curve, what you get here in the Fourier spectrum is not exactly what you see here. There are some small very light frequencies also visible here, but they are not we are not able to see them because they are very small, and since they are very small, we can assume that they are negligible, right. And when I say the frequencies are very small, I basically mean their coefficient, okay. The coefficient value is very small, and that is why you don't see at this particular place. Since the coefficient of this frequency is high, you are able to see this dot at this particular place. But if the coefficient would have been less, then you will not be able to see this frequency, okay. And this we will see with the help of examples. In some of the examples, I have shown that those other minor frequencies are also visible, okay. With respect to this example, we just discussed that the points in the Fourier image are halfway between the center and the edge of the image, right. We discussed and why the point in the Fourier image is halfway, because the frequency that you are going to get there is just half of the maximum frequency. So that is why it is coming at the middle of that line. And as I just said that there are other values also, there are for other frequencies also there are some, there are coefficients, but their magnitude is very small, so that is why we don't see them. And if you analyze, it turns out that their magnitude is, the coefficient of those frequencies is less than 100 of the DC value. Okay, so that is why that becomes very, very small, and those coefficient with respect to those frequencies, they are not visible. Okay, if you analyze the coefficients of these two frequencies, or this one frequency that is visible here, it turns out that the coefficient for this frequency is around 2/3 of the DC value. Okay, so whatever DC value you have, this coefficient is 2/3. So since it is 2/3, relatively it is high, so that is why it is visible there. Okay, and if, let's say, if I ask you a question that let us say there are frequencies which are existing here in this Fourier spectrum, can you tell me what are the places where they will be there? So answer is, since the pattern is going to exist in this horizontal direction only, there is no pattern in the vertical direction, because in the vertical direction if you move, the things are consistent. So whatever frequencies I am saying that they are there but they are not visible, they all are lying on this line only, Okay, they all are lying on this line only, where this particular frequency is lying. At the same line, those frequencies are also lying, but their coefficients are very less, and as I just said, their coefficient is almost 1/100 times of the DC value, so that is why they are not visible. But if you let's say magnify them, you will find that all of them will get visible on this line only. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now let us see a few more examples. So suppose let us say we try to get the Fourier spectrum of this image. So in this case, again, you see there is a one major pattern that you see when you move across this. So that is why here also you see one major frequency. So at the center point you have the DC value for this image, and there are two values. So since this spectrum is symmetrical, we need to only discuss one of them. So let's say we focus on this frequency, and this frequency, so there is only one frequency in this spectrum, and this frequency is telling the frequency of the pattern that you have here. Okay. Yeah. Now let us see. Let us take the log of what you have here. And as I said in the last class that in the Fourier spectrum, the values are going to be very, very small. So whenever we want to, let's say, increase the visibility of the values, we take the log, so that the small value become the bigger, large values, and then we are able to see them. So if you take the log of this image, what we actually find that this image is, you see in this image that there are only 3 bright spots, one at the center and then 2 here. But if you take the log, you will see the image will come something like this, what you see here, right? So you see there are a lot of white spots. There is not only one white spot, there are a lot of white spots. And one more thing we should notice here, that these white spots are not only in this direction, they are even in other directions, other places also here. Right? As I said in the previous example, that when you are, if you let's say magnify, in this previous case, if you magnify this image, you will find more white dots, but they will be only in this, when you are going from horizontally from one, horizontally from here to here. Okay, but in this case you are finding that these white dots are visible at many places here and here. The reason is that your pattern is in some sense in the diagonal direction, but you are approximating that with the help of your square pixels, right? So that is why, since you are moving in this direction, in the diagonal direction, but you don't have any other thing other than square pixels to approximate it. So that is why you see a lot of white spots here. And if you do the thresholding on this, you see that there are a lot of quite visible white spots here. But please remember, this is in the log scale. That is why you are seeing so many. But in the original scale, their value is relatively very less. So that is why in the previous example, we have in this diagram we have only shown the one major frequency, which is here. Okay. Alright, so this is all we have discussed. We have taken the log and then we saw that there are some more visible points, and to find out what are the prominent in the logarithmic transform, we have thresholded the image with the help of threshold 13, and then we found that there are some visible points here on this diagonal. Okay. Let us see a few more examples. So suppose here this image is given and our objective is to find out the transform of this image, Fourier transform of this image. So here also if you see, when you are moving from left to right, not much changes are there, right? Either you will be moving on the black line or you will be moving on the white space that is between the lines. So not much changes are there. In this example also the changes are only in this direction. So that is why you see the frequency that you see are only in this line here, on this line, right? Not on the, not in this direction. Okay. And if you just do the thresholding, you again find that here also there is only one major frequency that you get, which is represented by this point here, and all other frequencies which are like, I mean in the other example you see here that there are other frequencies also existing, but out of all these frequencies there is only one which is prominent. So when you do the thresholding to find out which one is the prominent one, you only find one major frequency. Okay. This is another example where the same text is considered, but it is rotated. Now when you are rotating, your major pattern is coming in this direction. So that is why you see your frequency is lying on this line, but there are some white line you see in this direction also, and this is just because you have a on the corner you have black portion. So when you are, let's say, putting a line like this here, so in this line also you see a black and then white and then again black here and white, something like that. So since a small pattern you get when you are moving in this diagonal, so you see little white dots on this axis as well, and they are just coming because these white regions. Okay. Fine. So if you do the thresholding, you find that though white dots are coming in this direction, but the major frequency is only lying in this direction, right? Which is the direction of the pattern that you have in your image. Okay. So what are the learnings from all this discussion, or what are the important points that we should remember from here? So the first point is that half of each image is a duplicate of the other half. This is very important thing that we need to remember. So whatever one half contains the exactly same information the other half of your Fourier spectrum contains, and then again when I am not mentioning specifically magnitude or phase, then that means we are talking about the magnitude. So whatever we are saying here, this is with respect to the magnitude. Okay. Yeah, and the second point, though both halves contain the same information, but if you want to reconstruct your image back from the original domain, from the Fourier domain, you need both the components, both the parts. It's not that you just need only half part, you need both the parts to recreate the image. So that is why we need, if you want to produce the whole image back, then we need both the parts. Okay, so please remember these points. Okay, now to compute the Fourier transform in a faster manner, there is a Fourier transform called fast Fourier transform. So this is again same thing, it's a Fourier transform only. If you give any image to this fast Fourier transform algorithm, what you are going to get is just the Fourier transform, but the algorithm that is used to get that transformation is like a efficient algorithm, so it is faster. So that is why this algorithm is called fast Fourier transform. Now in the fast Fourier transform, we are not going to discuss the complete thing about this, but I just want to highlight this important point here. As I said in the previous slide, that your image, your Fourier image or your Fourier transform is symmetrical. So when this fast Fourier transform computes the Fourier transform of an image, it doesn't compute all the values. It just computes half of them. It generates only half of the images, and particularly it generates the left half of the Fourier image, because the right half you can say are they going to be symmetrical. So that is why it doesn't generate both of them. To make the algorithm faster, it only generates the half of the Fourier transform, and that is the left half of the Fourier transform image. Okay. And when it is converting, and let's say you are applying this fast Fourier transform in inverse manner to get the original image back, there also it doesn't consider the left and right both the parts, it only consider half of the spectrum, because what you have in the remaining spectrum is nothing but the replica. So that is why to make the algorithm faster, it only considers, it looks at the left half of the Fourier spectrum image. It ignores what you have on the right side, on the right half. Okay. Fine. Now let us move to a new topic and discuss, out of magnitude and phase in DFT, which one is more important? One thing we have discussed, that if you have to reconstruct your signal back from frequency domain to spatial domain, both are required. Magnitude is also required, phase is also required. But now here we are going to discuss which one is more important. Comparatively, which one is more important? Let's say we have to compromise with something, with which you will compromise, whether you will be diluting the magnitude or you will dilute the phase. Right? So just in that reference, we are discussing which one is more important. So to do this, there is one very easy way to find out which one is, or visualize which one is more important. The way is as follows. You, from the given image, you first compute its Fourier transform and get its magnitude spectrum and phase spectrum. Okay? And from this phase spectrum and magnitude spectrum, if you get back the original image, considering only one of them. So consider the magnitude and try to get the original image, and then consider only phase and try to get the original image. And wherever you see more information, or the information that you are going to obtain by performing this inverse transform is close to the original image, that one you can say that is going to be more robust, right, or going to provide more information. So let us see that here. If you just see what is the significance of the magnitude and phase in the Fourier spectrum. So magnitude basically tells you the relative presence of sinusoid in your original function fxy. It's a relative presence. In some sense you can say it tells you the coefficient of the frequencies. Okay. But phase tells you when you are going to put many sine and cosine waves together, how they are aligned, how they are placed when you are going to, let's say, add them up. Right. So it tells you what is the relative placement. Right. When you are, let's say, one sine and another sine you are combining, how they need to be relatively placed. So that is going to be determined with the help of phase, and with the help of magnitude you are going to determine which sine wave or cosine wave need to be given more weightage or less weightage. So it tells you the relative importance, relative presence of the sine and cosine waves, and phase tells you their relative placement. So now let us see, let us try to generate the original image from the magnitude spectrum and the phase spectrum of the example that we just saw. So we see that if we use just magnitude spectrum and try to get the image back in the spatial domain, we see that we get something like this. Okay. Now when we consider only phase and reconstruct, we get an image like this. Now from this result, it is very easy to say that what you get from the phase spectrum is more close to your original image, because original image was this one, and what you get when you perform the inverse Fourier transform on the phase image, you get this image, which looks like a human face and a human body. You can identify the parts, right? But from here you are not able to identify anything. So with this example or with this demonstration, we can say that out of the magnitude and phase carries more information, magnitude carries relatively lesser information. Okay. Now, why this image is not exactly looking like this image? Because to construct this image back here, we need both magnitude and phase. But what we have done here, in this example, we have only considered magnitude in this case, and here we have only considered the phase. So that is why what you are getting here is not exactly what you supplied at the time of performing the Fourier transform, which was this image. We are getting something close to it, and we see that this image is close to your input. This image is not at all actually telling you anything about the input image. So from this demonstration we can say that when you have phase and magnitude in the Fourier domain, phase need to be taken care well. Relatively, magnitude can be compromised. Okay. So when you perform the operation, normally, as if you remember at the beginning we discussed why we are doing the Fourier transform. The main objective was to perform certain operations in the Fourier domain or in the frequency domain. We discussed that when you perform the operation in the frequency domain, the complexity of those operations is less. Right? They are more efficient in the frequency domain. So that is why on the images, when we have to perform some operations, we take them to frequency domain by using the Fourier transform, and then perform their operations, and then we'll get back the image back in the original domain. So now when you take your image to the Fourier domain and perform some operation there, since you are saying that phase contains more information, typically it phase contains more information. So when you are doing any kind of operation in the Fourier domain, you should preserve phase more compared to magnitude. All right. So if you have to, if you have to dilute one of these two, or you have to take extra care of these two, you will consider you will take more precautions when you are handling with the phase, and you can be little relaxed when you are dealing with the magnitude. All right. Fine. So with this, let us close this session. Next class we will again discuss few more remaining things about the Fourier transform. Thank you.